All Buddhist teachings. Here you, Mahamati, should develop your own intellectual skill, and also get others to do so. You shouldn't be led by others. So it is said. 5 elements, nature, 8 consciousnesses, and twin selflessness, are all contained in the great vehicle. Name, appearance, and imagination are of 2 natures, true knowledge and verity are described as absolute. At that time Mahamati, the great Bodhisattva, went on to say this to the Blessed One, when it is said by the Blessed One in a record of instruction that the realized one's past, future, and present are like the sands of the Ganges river. Is this to be taken literally, or is there some other meaning to it? Please tell me, Blessed One. The Blessed One said, it is not to be taken literally. The Buddhas of the 3 times cannot be measured by the measure of the sands of the Ganges. Why? Because they are quite beyond the world. An example affords no comparison, because there is no resemblance to any likeness. And the realized, able, perfectly enlightened Buddhas do not adduce an example beyond the world without resemblance to any likeness, Mahamati, unless it is just an analogy presented by me and those realized ones. Saying that the realized, able, perfectly enlightened Buddhas are like the sands of the Ganges is for the purpose of startling unsophisticated ordinary people who are engrossed in attachment to permanence or impermanence, attached to wrong views belonging to dogmatists, going along with the will of repetitious mundane existence. So that these seekers of the exceptional may be able to get beyond the straits of mundane ways, in order to show Buddhahood as easy to attain, they are told that the emergence of the realized is not like the Udambara blossom, so that they will begin to make effort. But it is also said by me in the record of instruction to people who can taught that the appearance of the realized is as rare as the Udambara blossom. But an Udambara blossom has never been seen by anyone, nor will ever be seen, whereas realized ones are seen in the world, and will be seen too. It is not in reference to a statement establishing my own doctrine that the appearance of the realized is as rare as the Udambara blossom. In exposition establishing my own doctrine, Mahamati, examples quite beyond the world are employed. Because of unbelievability, it would be incredible to unsophisticated ordinary people. It is not that they do not hold good in the domain of one's own first-hand ultimate knowledge, but the realized are reality, hence are not explained in those examples. But is related only as a matter of analogy that the realized are like the sands of the Ganges river, they are neither alike nor unalike, having neither resemblance nor distinction. Just as the sands of the Ganges river, Mahamati, while being agitated by fish, turtles, porpoises, buffalo, lions, elephants, and so on, do not consider or imagine themselves agitated or not, having no misconstruction, inherently clean, free from pollution, in the same way the sands of the powers, superknowledges, and masteries of the great Ganges river of first-hand ultimate knowledge do no consider or imagine being agitated by all the dogmatic ignorant fishy challengers. Because the realized are already committed to it, they do not arrange or imagine the fulfilling of attainment of all happiness of beings. Hence the realized are like the sands of the Ganges river, no different, in neither inviting nor refusing. Just as the sand in the Ganges river is earth because its nature is earthen, and does not relinquish the nature of earth even burning in the ionic fire, for earth does not burn by connection with the element of fire, except insofar as ignorant ordinary people with mental continuum fixated on unreality imagine it burning, and does not burn as an element on which that fire is based. In the same way, Mahamati, the reality body of the realized is unperishing like the sands of the Ganges river. Just as the sands of the Ganges river are measureless, Mahamati, measureless too is the light of the rays of the realized, diffused by the realized throughout the circles of audiences of all Buddhas to promote the maturation of beings. Just as the sands in the Ganges river do not take on a nature other than sand, as sands remain sand, in the same way, Mahamati, in repetitious mundane existence there is no origin or extinction of the realized, able, perfectly enlightened Buddhas, because of the cause of the process of becoming having been cut off. Just as the sands in the Ganges river do not notice if they are picked up and do not notice if they are thrown, Mahamati, in the same way the knowledge of the realized is neither exhausted nor increased by employment in the development of people, because of the incorporeality of truth. For destruction happens, Mahamati, to the corporeal, not the incorporeal, and truth is incorporeal. Just as the sands in the Ganges river, even if pressed by those seeking grease or oil, have never had any grease or oil to begin with, in the same way the realized, when pressed by the sufferings of beings, do not give up the pleasure of the commitments of lordship of the realm of truth, having undertaken great compassion as long as all beings have not been relieved by the realized. Just as the sands in the Ganges river flow along with the current, Mahamati, not where there is no water, in the same way the teaching of the truth of all Buddhas by the realized goes with the flow of nirvana. Therefore the realized are said to be like the sands in the Ganges river. This does not imply a sense of going in the realized. Perishing is the meaning of going. And the starting point of mundane existence is not known. Without knowing that, how can I teach in terms of going? The meaning of going, Mahamati, is extinction, but unsophisticated ordinary people do not comprehend. Mahamati said, if, blessed one, the starting point of worldly existence is not known, how can the liberation of living being be known? The blessed one said, cessation of the cause of the impressions of valueless imagination elaborated since beginningless time, Mahamati, because of recognition of external things as objects of subjective thought, the basis of imagination not taking effect, Mahamati, is liberation, not annihilation. Hence it does not make any argument for eternity. Ultimate eternity, Mahamati, is another name for an imagination. There is here no other essence at all but imagination, either internal or external, when examined with discernment. For all phenomena are beyond knowledge and information, except that imagination goes on because of not realizing it is subjective thought construction, and ceases from perception of that. So it is said. Those who see the guides as like sands in the Ganges see the realized in an unperishing state. As the sands in the Ganges are free of all defects, going with the flow, everlasting, so is the Buddhahood of a Buddha. At that point Mahamati, the great Bodhisattva, went on to say this to the Blessed One, please indicate, Blessed One, please indicate to me, Blissful One, Able One, Perfectly Enlightened One, the instantaneous dissolution of all phenomena, and their distinction. That is, how are all things momentary? The Blessed One said, then listen, Mahamati, and take it to heart accurately and aptly, I will tell you. Very well, Blessed One. So saying, the great Bodhisattva Mahamati listened to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said this to him, all phenomena means everything, Mahamati, namely good and bad, concrete and not concrete, mundane and transmundane, blameworthy and blameless, distressing and painless, perceived and unperceived. In sum, Mahamati, the five acquisitive clusters, conditioned by impressions of thought, intellect, and cognitive consciousness, are imagined for better or worse by naive ordinary people filled with impressions of thought, intellect, and cognitive consciousness. Attainments of absorption and ecstasy, Mahamati, by sages' production of enjoyment of bliss in the present state, are called good and wholesome. Good and bad, furthermore, Mahamati, refer to the eight consciousnesses. What are the eight? They are the matrix of realization called the receptacle consciousness, the intellect, the cognitive consciousness, and five bodies of consciousness mentioned by philosophers. These five bodies of consciousness, together with the cognitive consciousness, go on occurring as moments of good and bad mutually distinguished, undivided bodies connecting in a continuum. Having occurred, they cease. Because of not recognizing subjective mental objects, immediately. Upon cessation another consciousness takes place. The cognitive consciousness that apprehends distinction in formation and appearance operates in conjunction with the five bodies of consciousness without stopping for a moment's time. That I call momentariness. Momentary too, Mahamati, is the receptacle consciousness called the matrix of realization, together with the intellect. It is momentary under the influences of the active consciousnesses, not momentary under the influence of the painless without impulse. But unsophisticated ordinary people adhering to the doctrine of momentariness do not perceive this momentary and non-momentary nature of all things. Because of not perceiving that, by a nihilistic view they will negate even uncreated phenomena. The five bodies of consciousness, Mahamati, are not recurrent, do not experience happiness or sorrow, have no basis for nirvana. But the matrix of realization, Mahamati, together with causes of consequential happiness and sorrow, starts and stops, congealed by four impressions. But the unsophisticated do not realize, their minds habituated to construing the notion of momentariness. Furthermore, Mahamati, gold, diamond, and the special quality of a saint's relics stay the same, abiding through time, not dissolving. If, moreover, Mahamati, the attainment of realization were momentary, that would negate the wisdom of the wise. But the wise are not devoid of wisdom. Gold and diamond, Mahamati, staying the same, even to the extent of being stable throughout time, neither decrease nor increase, how can that be construed in the sense of the momentariness of all phenomena, inner and outer, by the unsophisticated who are unfamiliar with esoteric language? Mahamati also said, it has also been said by the Blessed One that Buddhahood is attained on fulfilling the six perfections. What are the six perfections, and how do they reach fulfillment? The Blessed One said, there are three kinds of these perfections, Mahamati, the worldly, the transmundane, and the supremely transmundane. The worldly accomplishments are immersed in adherence to grasping self and possession. Those who grasp dual extremes fulfill the accomplishment of giving, aiming for attainment of various states of being, desirous of sense objects such as form. In the same way the ignorant fulfill the accomplishments of discipline, patience, diligence, meditation, and insight. And they elicit superknowledge seeking Godhood. Now then, by means of the transmundane perfections hearers and solitary illuminates devote efforts to giving, and the rest with minds fallen into grasping nirvana. Like the ignorant, they are seekers of nirvana for their own pleasure. As for the supremely transmundane, Mahamati, by apprehending the content of construction of subjective mental objects, realizing duality as in one's own mind, by the inactivity of imagination, having no proprietary grasping, by not getting engrossed in subjective descriptions of forms, the perfection of giving for the benefit and happiness of all beings is born in great bodhisattvas engaged in the highest effort. The abstention from imagination they cultivate on that basis is the perfection of discipline. The patience in abstention from imagination by observing what apprehends the apprehended, that is the perfection of patience. The diligence by which one cultivates cessation of false imagination in the beginning and end of the night by means of observation suited to discipline, that is the perfection of diligence. Not falling into cultic grasping of nirvana from cessation of imagination is the perfection of meditation. As for perfection of insight, when one does not fall into dual extremes in the process of examination due to attentive examination without subjective thought construction, nullifying past actions by reversal of the mental basis, engaged in attainment of first-hand realization, that is the perfection of insight. These, Mahamati, are the perfections. This is the meaning of having gone beyond. So it is said. The ignorant construe the concrete as empty and impermanent, by examples of a river, a lamp, a seed. Is the meaning of the momentary misconstrued? I say the meaning of the momentary is that all things have no function, are momentary, isolated, without destruction and without origination. I do not teach the unsophisticated that dissolution is immediate upon origination. Uninterruptedly imagination of things pulses in a course, that experience is the cause activating those thoughts. No form of any kind is born inside. As soon as one thought disappears, another thought commences. Form does not remain through time based on what can it be made to go on. Whence and where thought operates, it causes deviation from verity. How can instant dissolution be conceived of what has never been effected? The attainment of yogis, gold, the relics of saints, and the properties of light are indestructible by worldly means. The states and attainments of Buddha, fulfillment of knowledge, asceticism, and realization are evident. How can they be momentary? Forms like castles in the air and magical illusions, are they momentary or not? The unreal and the actual have come about from some agency. 7. Projection.